Hello, and welcome to the Wayfaring Panda. I'm Annette. Today I'm working on Sheetload of Cards from Call Me Crafty Al, and these are her March 2022 sketch. So you can get these free. She just asked that you be a subscriber. So I put a link to her YouTube video where she gives you this information, and she has the link for that on her video. So here's, this is your sketch and supply list. So this shows you what it'll look like. And here it has a sentiment and an image. And this could be a stamped image. You could do a circle, a cutout, whatever you want. I'm going to be doing some Disney themed ones from a Disney pack. And so I'm waiting for some patterns I got for my scan and cut that will do Disney, and it has Disney cupcakes on it, like Mickey Mouse cupcakes and Minnie Mouse cupcakes. So I'm not sure if I'm going to do the fishtail and the sentiment, and this will be a cupcake. So I'm going to make the cupcake first and see what I want to do. But they will be birthday cards because I work at a preschool, and I thought Disney birthday cards would be great. My sister wants a couple for her kids that she sponsors in Mexico. So here it shows you your supplies. And so you use six 6x6 pattern papers. And generally she uses, I think, 8.5 times 11. I don't know. This is actually the first time I'm doing this. And she was inspired by Anya Lachenko. And so the sketch she uses, she got the idea from her. So 6 pattern pieces, then use 3 8.5 times 11 solid cardstock. So 2 are for this back part you see here, so I'll be doing that. And this other, the ones is for doing the sentiments. But I told you I'm going to be doing cutouts, so I think I'll probably use Bristol Smooth cardstock for that, so that I can use my ink on it to make my cupcakes. So that's probably what I'll do. So the one where it says here you need 3 8.5 times 11, that's just to make your card bases, so that's what I already did. And then for my 6x6 pattern, I chose this paper my sister got for me a little while back. So this is Disney theme paper, Wish Upon a Star. So you need 6, so I picked 2 pieces, or 3 different patterns, 2 pieces of each pattern. So this is what I've got. I thought these look good together. So this blue one here. And these are double-sided, so you could use either side if you don't like the way one looks. And then I got 2 of this one, the stars. And I wouldn't want that on the paper. And then this one. I wanted one that kind of looked really Disney-ish, but not like necessarily the theme park since they're birthday cards. I thought I tore out 2 of these. I'll have to double check that. Oh, here it is. So 6 of those. And then for the salad, I thought this looked good. This is Stampin' Up Real Red, but this paper is from probably around 2005-ish. So I don't know what colors they have nowadays, but this is the shade of the Real Red from back then. And I think it matches this red pretty good. First, I'm going to use this pattern piece. So here it is. And the one that looks kind of reddish color, kind of watermelon color, is the one that shows the cardstock, the 8.5 times 11. So you cut out 3 3¼ by 5.5 inch sizes. And then also if you're doing the fishtail on there, then you would use this paper to cut your fishtail. So I didn't do this at this time because I wasn't sure which one I was going to use. So first of all, I started by trimming down the length so that it will be 5.5 inches wide. And then I go and cut 3 pieces that are 3 1/4. Now I'm ready to cut my pattern paper. You use this diagram that's white with black lines to see how to cut it. You're cutting out 4 different pieces on each one, and you cut them all the same. If your paper is non-directional, then it doesn't matter which way you cut it out. If it is directional, then you want to make sure that the parts that are going top to bottom are going the right way. I did make a mistake on cutting a couple of my papers, but I'll show you how I fixed that. I'm just showing you this first piece of paper because you do cut them all the same. I already assembled all my papers, so you need one of the red ones, the solid color, and one piece from each of your patterns. If you did 6 different patterns, then it won't matter. So you need 2 of the same of the long strip and then 2 rectangles that are 2 different patterns. You're going to glue on your strips on the sides, and then you're going to glue the solid piece in the middle, and then your larger rectangle goes on top and the smaller one goes on the bottom. And I'm just using Nouveau Deluxe glue. Now this is one that I messed up, so I'm just going to show you how I fixed it. You can see I cut the star paper too short. So how I fix it is I cut my red paper bigger. So I made it the same size, the 4 1/4 times 5 1/2, so I won't have any of my card base showing. So I'm going to glue that one on first, and then I'll glue on my long strips and my rectangles. Now the next one, I also made a mistake when cutting. So the button paper, I forgot about the directional, so I had to piece one of these sides together, and I just lined them up so the blue matched and not the buttons, and then I matched up that red button, so you can't even really tell what messed up. So remember, it's paper, so if you make a mistake, just fix it however you want. The recipient doesn't know what you meant to do. So I finished the other 3 off screen since there were no mistakes with those, and I just did the same as I did the first card on this video. Now for 4 of my cards, I'm stamping Happy Birthday inside the card. I'm just using Stampin' Up Real Red since that matches the paper, and it was an old Stampin' Up Happy Birthday stamp. And then inside I'm stamping Mickey Mouse, and I originally used a VersaFine Clear, but you can see there was a little white space that didn't stamp well. So then I just wipe off my stamp, and I'm trying it with Memento ink. And that didn't have a complete filling either. So I don't know if it's the ink or this stamp. So this stamp set is from EK Success Mickey Mouse. So I don't know if you've used those in the past, or if you've had luck with those, or if it's the stamp pads. So I'm just referring back to the pattern. I'm going to do the fishtail like it shows here. I had those cut out with my Scan and Cut, or you could cut these out by hand. And I'm just gluing those just in between the 2 rectangles. Now I decided not to do the sentiment because I'm putting a cupcake on top, and I'll just center that. And I'm giving these to preschoolers, and they don't read anyway. And 2 of these are going to my sister, and I don't know what she's going to send them for. But I do know she's sending them to 2 girls in Mexico, and I don't think they read much English, so she can just add whatever sentiment she wants. Next, I'm going to assemble my cupcakes, which are going to go in the middle of the card. So I already cut these out with my Scan and Cut. Now this is the icing, and I'm going to leave it white because it's the icing, and I'm going to do embossing. So this is some embossing powder that I made combining either clear or white embossing powder in this Jello. It's Jello pudding, and I used it to make scratch and sniff. I don't actually know if it's going to work. I've tried it before, but this is kind of small with this icing. So what you want to do if you do scratch and sniff is to do several layers, which I do. So I put on my distress ink using my distress dauber, and then I sprinkle on some of this, and then I heat set it, and then it'll be sticky, and then you can add some more, which I keep doing. Now I did find that this one burnt a little easier than my cherries that I make next, and I'm wondering because you want to use ingredients for smells that don't have sugar. That's why I use no sugar ones. However, pudding does have milk in it, so I'm wondering if that's why it burnt a little bit. Now I decided to add a little bit more embossing powder because it wasn't holding the powder as much as I wanted. But I did find this one has a little bit of texture, so that may be a little bit of the problem also. Since it had time to cool, I'm going over it again with my distress dauber, and then I add some more layers of the vanilla pudding and embossing powder mixed together. Now I could smell the vanilla as I was doing it, but later on I couldn't tell. Of course, I have allergies, so I don't know if that's part of it. But anyway, it's a way you can do scratch and sniff, and some smells may work better than others. Next, I make some scratch and sniff embossing powder, and I don't really know how well it's going to work as far as scratch and sniff, but the color turned out great. So I'm just using some super fine clear embossing powder, and I dumped in a packet of Welch's singles to go in. This was cherry pomegranate because I didn't have any cherry. And then I put in some of my disco dust, which I got at a cake store because it's supposedly edible, but when I researched it, I found out it's really just the same thing as your craft glitter, which is plastic. So I said, no way, it's going with my crafts. I'm not putting plastic on my cookies. So I just mix that in, and you can make glitter embossing powder this way also. And I think generally use about a 50-50 ratio. I'm not really measuring it. I am stirring it with the end of a wooden brush so that way you don't introduce static to it. Next, I use my blending tool to put on some distress ink, and I'm using Barn Door to color my cherry. And on this one, I don't need to use the distress dauber because distress ink will stay wet for a little bit, and that'll give enough wetness for the embossing powder to stick to it. And then after that, I just keep putting on more and more layers as I emboss it because it sticks to the previous sticky part before it dries. And you'll see it gets a lot of color here. I don't know if I really smelt the cherry smell, but it does look really pretty. So you might want to do the glitter part. And if you want to do scratch and sniff, just experiment. I think maybe you need to use a bigger cherry for this to work, but I really like how it looks. And you can see this with the clear embossing powder that it melted really well. And I didn't have problems with burning. Another tip, especially when you're doing little things like this, you want to be using a tweezer so you don't burn your fingers. With this, it'd also be easier if you use one of those reverse tweezers, but I don't have one of those. Next, I assemble my cupcake using my Nouveau Deluxe glue. And so you can see I distress inked my cupcake liner with red because that kind of symbolizes Mickey's pants, and there's his head as the actual cupcake, and I put the icing on his head and then the cherry. Then there's two little oval pieces that serve as his buttons on his shorts. Now for the cupcake pieces, I cut those out with my brother's Scan and Cut. It was with a pattern collection from Disney that I had to buy separately unless you already have a Disney Scan and Cut. And it came with the Applique set. I think it's Minnie and Mickey Applique set, or maybe Minnie and Mickey and Friends Applique set. And it had different characters. As a cupcake, it had a Mickey heads and other sort of different ones you could use for applique or for decorating. So I thought that would be good for cards and for scrapbooking. I'll put a list of all the products they use in the description below. Some of these will be affiliate links. They won't cost you anything extra to use, but I do get a small commission from any sales that the links generate, and that helps support my website and YouTube channel so I can continue bringing you more content. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please give it a like, and also I'd enjoy seeing any comments below. I'll leave a link to Crafty Owl's YouTube video that you can watch at the end of this one, and if you watch that, she has a link for you to download the directions for these cards. Now you can use any type of paper you want for these directions. So if you didn't want to do Disney, you can use birthday paper, or you could use jungle paper, whatever you want, and then decorate it however you like. Maybe you want to do Disney, but maybe you have Disney cutouts from a collection, or maybe you have different cutouts that you can use, or you can use a stamp set like I did at the inside of this card. I'm just using foam squares to pop up my cupcake on the card. So at the end of this video, I'll show you all 6 cards. 4 of them are popped up because I'm using those for my preschool kids. 2 of them at the end, I just glued them to it because my sister's going to mail them to Mexico, so I didn't want to add any additional layers to the card. I want to thank you so much for watching. If you're not already a subscriber, I'd really appreciate if you can subscribe to my channel. I'll leave a link, like I said, at the end of this video for Crafty Owl. I'll also leave a link to some other card making videos so you can get some more inspiration. Thank you and have a wonderful day.